Now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Allegheny Health Network Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you very much, Ken, and welcome everybody to the Allegheny Health Network Nightly Sports Call. I'm Josh Taylor, in tonight for Bob Pompiani. He has the night off after covering the parade for the Stanley Cup champion, back-to-back Stanley Cup champion, Pittsburgh Penguins. That's your story of the day. Pretty much, that's how it goes. Stretching, of course, down Grant Street. If you've seen a parade in Pittsburgh, you know how the route goes. Down Grant Street, turn on Boulevard of the Allies, all the way down towards Boulevard of the Allies, getting towards Commonwealth Place, and, of course, ending at Point State Park. That is the quintessential championship parade route. I think last year it ended at Stanwix and Boulevard of the Allies, but all the same. The usual parade route through town, and when you've done it enough times, when you've done it 5 times when you're the Pittsburgh Penguins since 1991, it kind of doesn't get old, but all the same. Good day for the city of Pittsburgh to celebrate, and seeing all the fans that came out to celebrate. There were some rows, and Richie Walsh reported this, some rows were 20 people deep as far as people lined up in certain spots to see Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and company celebrating their second straight Stanley Cup. It's a very, very exciting day. It's a fun thing to be a part of, to see that happen, and I've been fortunate to see all 5 times that the Penguins have won the Stanley Cup in my lifetime. It's been a lot of fun. So when you get to see it, it never feels like old hat. And I think a lot of people tend to maybe overvalue or undervalue the situation. There becomes an expectation of it. And sometimes the expectation is what ruins the moment. So hopefully everybody got to enjoy the moment today, including all the fans that were there. And it was a really, really good day for the Penguins. And you start asking questions. You look into next year, of course. You see guys like Matt Cullen get up on the stage riding through the parade route. You hear people chanting one more year. When you see guys like Chris Kunitz riding down, knowing that he's at the end of his contract and he becomes an unrestricted free agent. Or guys like Trevor Daley and Ron Hainsey and Mark Streit, who become unrestricted free agents. Nick Bonino is an unrestricted free agent. You start looking ahead and wondering who sticks around next year, especially with Marc-Andre Fleury, who more than likely is wearing a Penguin sweater for probably, if not the last time, one of the last few times of his career as a Penguin. You start asking questions about what's down the pike for this organization. You start wondering just exactly what happens, and I was curious myself. I looked it up as far as cap room. The Penguins right now have about $12.9 million in cap space. Now, that does not count what happens after the expansion draft, and that's in about 8 days. So a lot could happen here in the next week that really shapes what happens with this team. Of course, some outlets already have the Penguins picked as a favorite going into next season, which, of course, seems a little bit premature, and sometimes that's the standard procedure. Sometimes the champion, if a lot of people are coming back, is the favorite next year. If Vegas likes them enough, that happens. But to see it a third possible Stanley Cup in a row that they're already the favorite, it does kind of perk up your antennae, so to speak. Another big day for the Steelers as well. TJ Watt, first-round draft pick, signs his contract, a 4-year deal. No specifics were disclosed, but we know that the entire 8-man draft class is now under contract. I believe I got a question about that last week on this same show about whether or not the Steelers would sign TJ Watt. And I believe my answer was, if it doesn't happen in August, then be worried. But now you have all 8 guys that are now under contract. So now they can worry about bigger things like Alejandro Villanueva, guys like Le'Veon Bell, who has not signed his franchise tag tender. Those particular situations, and Alejandro Villanueva has spoken about it a couple times in the last couple weeks, but throughout OTAs did not say a word. You'd hear various media outlets, reporters saying, went to talk to Alejandro Villanueva, he comes off the field and says, sorry, got to go lift. Wouldn't talk about the situation. Finally talked about it last week and pretty much said, look, it's not in my hands. I'll go with what my agent says and I'll do what needs to be done. And out of respect for the team, he kept showing up. He keeps showing up at OTAs. He's at minicamp, which is a really good sign of good faith. I think that means that when you look at the Steelers' past, they reward guys who act in good faith. So I think that's good news for Alejandro Villanueva. But that is the situation that you look at with training camp about 6 weeks away. So you start looking at contract situations, who's signed, who's not, who's up for contract extensions in their last year. So that's something that all becomes a big talking point. Also tonight, the Pirates lose to Colorado 5-1. Their 4-game win streak comes to an end. They salvaged 2 games out of that 3-game series, and for all intents and purposes, Colorado, one of the best teams in baseball. Definitely one of the best teams in the National League. So to see Colorado come in here and to see Garrett Cole and Jamison Tyone shut this team down systematically in 2 games, and then to see Chad Cole come out and not be as good, probably dampens the mood a bit, but all the same, a good 3-game series from the Pirates taking 2 for one of the better teams in the league. Now, however, they still have to go to Denver and go to Coors Field and deal with that team in their own confines. And if you think they're good on the road, which, by the way, this was the first road series they've lost all year, you think they're good on the road, they're even better at home. So that'll be an interesting trip when the Pirates go out that way. In the meantime, we're taking your calls. 412-575-2600 is the number. Taking your tweets at Josh Taylor HD. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll answer phone calls. We'll answer tweets here on the Nightly Sports Call. Stick around.